The UFC is headed back to St. Louis and they are taking... That's not enough energy. The UFC is headed back to St. Louis and they are taking the all-time knockout king with them. Derek Lewis has more knockouts than any other fighter in history. He also happens to be 1-4 in his last 5 and a favorite going into this matchup. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks. And I'm going to break down the entire UFC St. Louis fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and bets. But before I do, let's take a very brief look at UFC 301. I did as well as you could do with a massive favorite laying an egg. I hit every single bet I put on the board except the Vitor Petrino one. Overall, things went pretty well for me. I had a couple of refunded bets because the Gomez fight was canceled, and then I had Jose Aldo inside the distance, but a decision is no action, so that was refunded. I gave you 31% return on your investment, and I brought back 1.4 units of net profit with only risking 4.5. If you do want a full recap of that event, I stayed up till God knows what hour filming this breakdown, recapping every single fight, my thoughts, what should happen next, and recapping the drama that was the hole in Jack Shore's shin, the drama that was the backflip of Michel Pereira, and the reason why I think Jose Aldo refused to work for a finish. But it's time to build on that success, and let's continue our winning streak into UFC St. Louis. If you want to become a premium member, it's only $10 for an entire month. You're going to unlock all the picks, all the bets, all the round line leans, all the tools, and everything else. One of the tools that we give you is the line movement tracker. You're going to get opening odds, current odds, win probability, and line movement for every fighter on every card. If we look at UFC St. Louis specifically, this is the most amount of movement I have seen this entire year. There are more fighters on this card that flipped from an underdog to a favorite than we have had on any other card in 2024. We've had some dramatic line movement. For example, Sean Woodson opened as even money. He is now closing in on a 2-1 favorite. You could also unlock the detail, data, metrics, and analytics. 38 columns of information that you can use heading in the fight week. Maybe it'll scare you away from a bet. Maybe it'll lead you to success. Either way, we give you more than just picks and bets. This isn't some rinky-dink Patreon operation where a guy lists 4 or 5 bets and says, good luck to us all. This is a full-blown interactive website with 15 to 20 different pages of detailed data, tools, insight, information, and of course, our bets. And so far on this year, we have been doing very well. Jacob and I are both up units on the year. I am riding a 2-event win streak here, and we're going to continue that through the rest of the year. You can unlock all of this, as well as the best DraftKings ownership projections in the game, as well as the preloaded DraftKings optimizer, as well as more than just myself and Jacob for only $10 an entire month. You're going to get me, Jacob, all the tools, all the picks, all the bets. You're going to get Artem, who gives you his picks and bets for not only UFC, but PFL, Contender Series. He's going to do Road to the UFC. He does all of those other regional promotions. And then we have an artificial intelligence. It's called Pick GPT. It picks fights based solely off of historical data, and then we're building betting systems around those picks, around the artificial intelligence. We literally have a nuclear physicist that reached out to us last year, said, I'm a huge fan. I'm developing this tool. Do you want it? And essentially what it is, it's a neural net. He's going to watch this. He's going to tell me I'm describing it wrong. It is a neural net artificial intelligence, and there's hundreds of them, and hundreds of them will pick fights based off of biometrics. Hundreds of them will pick fights based off of striking. Hundreds will pick fights based off of grappling. And then more of that. And then they all get meshed together, all the results, and then it picks again. I am not a neurophysicist or nuclear physicist. I think I'm going to get a text. Maybe he's a nuclear physicist. I don't know how it works, but it's picking fights based off of data at an insane accuracy. This and everything I haven't mentioned is included with one package. $10 a month, WeWantPicks.com, click become a member at the top. There's not like, here's my betting stuff, here's my DFS stuff, and if you buy both, you get a discount. That's a scam. This is a volatile sport. We're going to give you all the tools. We're going to give you our picks, our bets. We're going to give you everything you need, everything you want heading into fight week. And if there are people charging you different prices for DFS and betting, they're gouging. If there are people charging $150 a month, they are gouging. We're not playing that game. We have well over 3,000 premium members, and that's because this is a value that nobody can argue. You could hate my guts, but you cannot argue the value of premium membership. WeWantPicks.com, click become a member at the top. And finally, before we move on to the card, we have one of the most well-edited videos I've ever put on this channel. I didn't edit it. I don't have those skills. Jacob has those skills, but this video was edited by somebody else. But I did place the biggest bet that you guys have seen me place. I'm not Jacob. I've got a family. I'm not throwing around $5,000 on a couple of sexy ladies. So I bet $1,000 on the UFC 303 main event. That is very out of character for me, but I am absolutely positive in the outcome of that fight. I also did this bet before I knew I was going there, before Jacob surprised me with tickets to UFC 303. Check out this video. A lot of time, a lot of effort went into this video. Check it out. It is on the channel. I'll have a card, however the hell you do that on YouTube. I'll have a card. Check this video out. It's, I don't want to say controversial because that's weird and like clickbaity. There's a lot of people that 100% agree with me and then 100% disagree with me, but I am positive I am right in this situation. Check that video out. Let's go ahead and break down UFC St. Louis. This is actually a very good card. I think so far this year, this is probably the best fight night we've had. It doesn't have insane star power, but it has a lot of really good matchups of a lot of mid-level talent. This is a solid fight night that up until UFC Saudi Arabia comes around is probably going to be the best fight night that we've gotten so far. And opening up the UFC St. Louis fight card, we have JJ Aldrich taking on Veronica Hardy. And JJ Aldrich is a dog here. She is an underdog in this matchup. And I'm surprised because I think she's the more well-rounded fighter here. She's a decent striker. She's got good takedowns. She got solid top pressure. And she fights within her skill set, meaning she's not going to go out there running, spinning back fist, trying to prove some weird point. She will do what she does. Pitter-patter, work you against the cage, try to get you to the ground. She does have a negative striking differential. She does rely on her volume, but she does squeak out wins. She's not dangerous anywhere, but she's pretty good everywhere. She is coming off back-to-back wins. The most recent one was a short-notice step-up against the very good wrestler Montana De La Rosa, where she had the cleaner striking and she did defend the takedowns. She's taking on Veronica Hardy. Veronica Hardy, formerly Veronica Macedo, is a 5-time Taekwondo champion. She's got decent power and very good footwork. She is a technical striker who is light on her feet and very fast. She likes to bounce around, charge forward. She'll throw lefts and rights before circling out. She's not a striker, though. Even though she's got that 5-time Taekwondo championship credential, in the octagon, she's not typically a striker. She is looking to wrestle. We saw that in her fight with Juliana Miller where she went 4 for 4 on takedowns, and it was pretty clear that Veronica Hardy is well-trained, her fight IQ is high, and she can get a fight to the ground if she needs to. She is coming off a very insanely close, somewhat controversial win over Jamie Lynn Horth. I mentioned Veronica's a slight favorite here. I'm going JJ. After her embarrassing loss to Ariane Lipski a little over a year ago, she seemed to have put things together. In her last 2 fights, the striking offense was there. The takedown defense was there. Both of those things looked very improved. JJ has the experience edge and a willingness to move forward. So the slight lean is going to be JJ Aldrich. The guaranteed bet that I'm going to have on this is the over 2.5 on the round line. I'm also stripping. You got somebody just super chatted $1, piece of clothes comes off, send another $1. Let me know what you want me to remove. That's not true. JJ Aldrich is the underdog pick to open up the card. Then we have Jared Gooden taking on Kevin Jousset. Jared Gooden was cut. He went 1-3 in the UFC. They cut his ass. Then he had some success in the regional scene. They brought him back, and he won. Now all of a sudden, Jared Gooden is in his second stint in the UFC, coming off of a decent win where he was an underdog. He's an underdog here as well. I don't think he's going to pull this one off, though. I mean, Jared Gooden is good. He's an explosive guy. He's got power in his hands. He has takedowns as well. He's not phenomenal anywhere, but his power, his speed, his explosiveness, his athletic ability have afforded him some success. He's a dangerous guy who has had that unfortunate run in the UFC. I mentioned he went 1-3. They cut him. Then he went 4-1. He came back to the UFC, and he is 1-1 now in the UFC, with his most recent fight being a submission win over Wellington Turman, where he did show us that power and that athleticism. He's taking on Frenchman Kevin Jousset. Like most of the French, he's going to fight nice and slow, take his time. He's going to plot forward, low hands, low volume. When he does finally close the distance, he likes to work you to the cage and hopefully get a takedown or two. He is insanely patient. That's a friendly nice Angelo 2.0, no longer a bully way of saying he's boring. He's boring. Kevin Jousset is boring. You're not going to get an exciting fight out of him, but you're probably going to get some wins. He likes to use his size to slow down a pace. His takedowns are slow. The striking is slow, but he is very big for this weight class. He's very strong, and he knows how to use that size advantage. He's coming off his second win in the UFC, this time a decision over Song Kanan. This should be Kevin all day. Kevin should absolutely be able to slow the pace, avoid the power, and win this fight. He's going to be the better fighter. He's going to be more skilled pretty much everywhere. He's not going to be faster. He's not going to be more powerful, but he should be more skilled, and that should be enough. Obviously, Jared Gooden is going to be dangerous, but Song Kanan was dangerous as well, and Kevin had no issues there. I see Kevin playing the out-of-range game until he closes the distance, works in the cage, the people boo, he'll squeak in a take. Kevin Jousset's going to win this fight. He's a 2-1 favorite right now, and that makes a lot of sense to me. Then we have Charles Johnson coming off of probably the best fight of his career. Quite literally, he looked unbelievable. Charles Johnson in his last fight, outside of when he almost got knocked out and submitted 10 times, outside of all of that, he looked like he could potentially be a world champion. He looked absolutely phenomenal in his last fight. And that's because he's typically a striker. Typically, you're going to get striking Charles Johnson, who's not as much volume as you would like. But in his last fight, Charles Johnson was busy. He was technical. The takedown offense was there. The takedown defense was there. And he did survive some chaos. He has always had 15 full minutes of cardio, but we hadn't necessarily seen him with the takedown defense and with the survival skills that we saw in his last fight. He fought Azat Maxim. People like to say it was a fraud check, but Azat was a decent guy that already had a couple of wins. He pretty much finished Charles Johnson 3 times in that fight. He dropped him. He submitted him almost. He didn't actually submit him, but he had that dude almost submitted. He had him dropped a couple of times, but then all of a sudden, Charles Johnson, like Hulk Hogan, just rising up with the cheering, just rose up from the canvas and got the takedowns, defended the takedowns, let his hands go, and he looked good. That version of Charles Johnson could absolutely win this fight, but it's not an easy fight to win because he's taking on Jake Hadley. Jake Hadley is a striker who rounds himself out with slick BJJ. He's got good boxing, good timing on his feet, and then he'll work in some good takedowns and aggressive BJJ on the ground. Hadley is a very good fighter. He had a whole bunch of titles in the regional promotions before moving to the UFC. He can strike, he can grapple, he has a high pace, and he can do that for 15 full minutes. But he's coming off a decision loss to Cody Durden where he had absolutely no answer for the wrestling. That version of Charles Johnson, the one that I talked about, the one that beat Azat Maxim, wins this fight. He absolutely wins this fight. That version will defend the takedowns, do a lot of his own striking, avoid the submission. That guy wins this fight. But we've only seen that guy one time. All of the other versions of Charles Johnson were either low volume, couldn't defend takedowns, and losing close fights. The only real definitive win Charles Johnson had in the UFC was a knockout over Jimmy Flick, who's terrible. A lot of people think he lost that Ode fight that they gifted him a decision. A lot of people think he lost that Zalgas Zumagulov fight. But Charles Johnson, in that last fight, can win here. And that's what gives me some concern. Because now we know, holy shit, Charles Johnson is very skilled and very good. He was fighting for his career in that fight, though. He was on a skid. His contract was up, I believe, or almost up, because after that fight, he was posting all over Instagram with a new contract. So he was fighting for his career. Was that a career-saving victory? Meaning, did he fight with that extra oomph? Like, I need this, I need this? Or is that just who he's been this whole time and he finally had the ability to do it? I don't know. But I can't trust one phenomenal showing over 4 or 5 mediocre showings. So I am going to lean Jake Hadley here, because Jake Hadley has pretty good takedowns. The takedown accuracy is only 25%, but that's because he will do a lot of half takedowns and then bail. That's not 25% fully committed. That's like grab a leg. Nope, it's not here. Let me go up to the body. Slight lean towards Jake Hadley. Like not even 49-51 if we're slicing it. But that last version of Charles Johnson, if he shows up, then going forward, we got to trust. We got to trust in inner G Charles Johnson. Then we have Billy Goff taking on Trey Waters to open up this whole thing. I talked about our line movement tracker, one of the many tools that you will get on premium membership at WeWantPicks.com. And I mentioned that there's more line movement on this card than any other card I've seen in 2024 so far. This fight had tremendous movement. Billy Goff opened at a -150 favorite. He is now almost a 2-to-1 dog, I believe. And I'm doing that off the top of my head. If I'm wrong, don't be the genius in the comments section that points out I got the... I'm doing it off the top of my head. And I was up till 2 or 3 in the morning filming that UFC 301 recap video. So, you know, you're welcome for the content, and cut me a little bit of slack when I forget what the odds are on this fight. And also, please hold while this stupid freaking camera stops following me around. I think we're good. I bought this camera. This is an Insta360 Link, whatever the hell. I bought this camera. All right, let me back up. When you do all of this, when you do the content thing and you're doing the YouTube thing, you can go 2 routes with the cameras. You can get a full-blown, like, real-life camera, DSLR, mirrorless, whatever the hell, full-blown, like, expensive real camera. And then you can run that through a little device that allows you to take a real camera and stream it into your computer and record and capture all of that. Jacob was doing that for a little bit, but him and I both run off of Max. And Max update the firmware where it doesn't really allow certain cameras to play nice. So when we were coming into the new year, I was upgrading a whole bunch of stuff. I got a better microphone. I was going to upgrade the camera. And I was going to go that route. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to deal with all the wild technical nonsense. So I said, what is the best possible webcam? That's really the other option here. And I got the Insta360 Link. And in my mind, I was like, not only is this very high quality, it can do 4K. We don't need that, but it could do 4K. It's just like these, you know, this little box of my Ben Affleck looking ass. Thank you. But it also has motion tracking. And at first I'm like, that's sweet. When Jacob and I are arguing, and if I'm like showing a move or shadow boxing, I can literally stand up from this chair. It will follow me and I can just showcase, wow, holy shit, Angelo's so fast and coordinated. Look at those hands. That's unbelievable. And I thought that was sweet. The problem is when you turn that off, which is easy to do with one click, when the computer gets unplugged, when this camera loses, it doesn't save the settings from the previous time. So then when I click record, if I forget to open up the app and pull up the settings and turn off the tracking, it's just automatically on. It's a small but insanely frustrating thing that does mess with you. All of a sudden, I'm looking at the camera right now, all of a sudden there's a blue ring and it's like, now I'm trying not to break the cadence of my speaking, so I'm like talking while pulling. We got Billy Goff taking on Trey Waters. Billy Goff was a favorite. He's now a dog. And I get why he was a favorite. He's a well-rounded guy. He's from Connecticut, so he looks good. Scrappy guy. Connecticut's a great place to grow up. I can't do 2 rants in a row in the same. I can't do it. You guys will flip out. But please, speed these videos up, man. Unsubscribe. Unsubscribe. Did you just talk to me about something other than the fight? Unsubscribe. Bye. There's a couple of dorks on Sunday nights that read a chart. Watch them read a chart. Dorks was aggressive. My bad. We got Billy Goff, well-rounded guy from the beautiful state of Connecticut. He's got clean boxing, a solid clinch. He's also a very good wrestler, good grappling. He uses all of that if he gets in trouble. He can also catch kicks and then run through that. When he does get a takedown, he has incredible top control and pressure. He's got good cardio. He will push a pace, but he was dropped in his Contender Series fight that could raise some questions. He is coming off that knockout win over Kinoshita last summer. He's taking on the tremendous Trey Waters. Tremendous Trey Waters. That should be his nickname. Tremendous Trey. Because this guy is 6'5" at welterweight. And he's not like Sean Woodson, who we're going to break down in a minute, like this weird, awkward, lanky body. Trey Waters is a beefy dude. To be 6'5" and make welterweight makes absolutely no sense. He's a long striker. He'll pump a jab. He'll try to keep range. He does get a little cocky and he'll keep his hands low, but he is fast. He's dangerous. He's going to be a problem for a lot of people, especially ones that can't work their way inside of his reach. He's coming off that win over Josh Quinlan where he defended 7 takedowns and more than doubled the strikes. And that is why he's the favorite now. He's defending takedowns from an okay wrestler. He's outstriking somebody that was supposed to be a good striker with real power. But what is interesting here is the general public and the odds makers, the sports books, are completely flipped here. And that tells you that most people aren't actually betting. Because if everybody was betting, the odds and the public opinion would be more aligned. But they are literally exact opposite. Tapology, that's what I'm using for the general public. They have probably the largest pool of people voting on fights. They have picked Goff to win at 60%. 60% of the people are picking Goff to win. The sportsbook have Trey Waters at minus 155. If you convert those odds to probability, that is also 60%. So the sportsbook are saying with a 60% accuracy, 60% confidence, they think Trey Waters wins. The general public is saying with a 60% confidence, they think Billy Goff wins. They literally couldn't be farther apart. It's an exact opposite. I'm leaning sportsbooks. I understand the love for Billy Goff. He's a tough guy. He comes forward. He won that last fight. I believe he was a dog going into that fight. I also believe he was Jacob's underdog lock of the week. I could be wrong there. But Trey Waters is tremendous. We saw the takedown defense. We saw the striking offense. We saw the striking defense as well. Trey Waters has to be the pick. He's minus 155. I am curious to see if that's going to continue to widen or if it'll rebound a little bit because there were people who liked Billy Goff and then I'm not going to bet him here, or maybe I will bet him here and it'll come back. I'm not sure. The bigger of a dog he becomes, maybe the more money comes in on him and it'll start to go the other way. But I think Trey Waters wins this fight. I think the size is a problem. The takedown defense is a problem because Billy Goff's going to be stuck striking with a much larger, more powerful striker. Then we have Tabatha Ricci taking on a new mother. Happy almost Mother's Day. Actually, she'll be fighting on the Saturday before Mother's Day, taking on Tecia Torres. I guarantee, I'm calling it now, there's going to be at least one montage of Tecia Torres being a new mother. At least. Maybe they'll do a broader Mother's Day montage, but 100% there will be a Mother's Day montage at UFC St. Louis, and Tecia Torres is a new mom and all that stuff. Positive. I'm going to ask Bet Openly if they could put a line up on that, and I'm going to bet you. Because I'm positive that's what's going to happen. Anyway, we got Tabatha Ricci coming off of her loss to Lupe Godinez to fight a new mother. Tabatha Ricci is a pretty good grappler. A very good grappler, in fact. She takes her time. She settles into positions, and then she'll look for submissions. She's very heavy on top. She's got good pressure and good control. She will ground and pound while she's on top, and that'll typically open opponents up, maybe create a scramble, and that's where she'll find her submissions. Her striking is improving, but it was not improved enough to beat Lupe Godinez. That was a very close fight, but her 6 takedown attempts failed, which just left her in a kickboxing match that she just wasn't going to win. She is taking on Tecia Torres. Now, Tisha Pennington. She is married to champion Raquel Pennington. And she's good everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. She's got very nice boxing. She stays in people's faces. She's a good grappler as well. She's got good wrestling and insane cardio. And obviously every single thing I'm saying is pre-child. I don't know what the hell she looks like after having a kid, and we're all going to find out on Saturday. Her only losses since 2017 were decisions to top women on the planet. All but 2 are former champions. All but 2. The other loss was a very insanely close split decision to Mackenzie Dern, where Mackenzie was actually climbing on her while leaning against the cage. I mentioned she just had a baby. She's also coming back after 2 years away. I don't have stats. I actually tried to find stats, and I went down a rabbit hole of how many women won in their debut after having a child. Off the top of my head, I started this narrative with a surprising amount of them win because I had Sarah McMahon in my head. I knew Sarah McMahon came back and won right after having a kid. And then I was like, so did Amanda Nunes. And I was like, oh, Amanda Nunes didn't have the kid. It was her wife. So then I went down the other way. Well, who else? Mackenzie Dern smoked. Nina Nunes, Amanda Nunes' wife, smoked. So all of a sudden, coming back after having a baby is actually not a good thing for your UFC career. And the rebound after that fight went well for Mackenzie Dern. It was just the immediate return. She physically looked spectacular. It was the best that she had ever physically looked. But she didn't win that fight. It was actually to Amanda Hebos. Tecia is a very talented fighter. The more well-rounded fighter here. She's got insane pressure, good volume. She could outstrike Tabatha, potentially defend the takedowns. But that was before 2 years ago and before the wild body transformation. Think about what happens. You grow a human being. Your hormones go crazy. And that's not like me disparaging women. Your hormones go all wild to raise a human being. Then you have that human being and your body is trying to recover. And then you have to lose all that weight, get your body back to normal. And yeah, it was 2 full years, but a year of it is having a baby. And she didn't basically get pregnant, instantly have the baby. It hasn't been a year since she had the baby. And I know this is a lot of baby talk for an MMA breakdown, But my point is, I don't think Tecia Torres is going to be who she was when she left. So I got to leave Tabatha Ricci on the board. I have to pick Tabatha Ricci here. I think she can come forward. I think she can get the takedowns and do what she does. She can be pretty relentless with those takedowns, and she's got great pressure on the ground. She's beaten a lot of very good grapplers, some better than Tecia Torres. The loss to Lupi Godinez wasn't the best loss, but it wasn't the worst either. It was a competitive striking fight, and Lupi, when she's there and not doing dumb shit like she did in her last fight, Lupi is a very good fighter, so that was a quality loss. I got to go Tabatha Ricci here. She's a very tiny, slight favorite. I will be drinking my own champagne, eating my own dog food, as they say, watching the line movement tracker to see if maybe we're going to get some better value. Maybe people will look at this and say, hey, listen, Tecia Torres is the better fighter. She's only losing the top women on the planet. I get there's a break, but she's going to win here. If that happens and the line swings, I might throw some action here. If you want to unlock that line movement tracker, WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. It is only $10 for an entire month. A whole month. A month. M-O-N-T-H. Not an event. A month. Then we have the always exciting, very talented Terrance McKinney. And the UFC is like, good luck with this one. They gave him Esteban Ribovics. 12-1 Esteban Ribovics. And you know what? Early on, doesn't matter who he's fighting. He'll win the first minute of a fight against Francis Ngannou because that's who Terrance McKinney is. Early in fights, I don't know if he's ever lost a first minute of a fight. Terrance McKinney is insanely talented. He's got solid hands, solid wrestling, solid BJJ. We've said this a million times over. If he had cardio, if he had a chin, he would be undefeated. Every single tool that you want a fighter to have, he has. He's so talented. But he fades very, very quickly. He gasses. His chin isn't as solid as you would like it to be. And that's not nothing he can do about that. He's a feast or famine guy. He's got 9 fights in the UFC and 9 fights that never saw the third round. He is coming off that TKO win over Brandon Marotte. And that made it 2 in a row. He's taking on Esteban Ribovics. This guy is a very impressive striker with sneaky power. His strikes are tight. They're short. They're accurate. He's got this guard right here, and he works forward picking his shots. Despite the impressive knockout highlights that he has, he's not just a striker. He's got nice takedowns, solid BJJ as well. He will shoot cleat doubles, and I said cleat instead of clean, but he will shoot clean doubles or upper body trips to get you to the ground. And once he's on the ground, immediately looking to snatch something up. He's coming off that bounce back win over Kamuela Kirk, where he had 2 takedowns, but he dominated the striking. And I get Esteban Ribovics being the favorite. 2-1 seems, okay. He's a very good technical striker, and you can trust him. And it's very hard to trust Terrance McKinney. It's also very hard to ignore his raw talent. Terrance is an incredible wrestler. I think he was a junior college All-American. And Esteban has been taken down 14 times in his last dos fights at Cinco de Mayo. In his last dos fights. Terrance has also been finished in every single one of his losses. But Esteban isn't exactly an insane finisher. I'm a conservative guy, meaning I don't chase dogs. I like to look at the data, make a decision, and really analyze the other side. Jacob wants to make fun of me because I'm always like, this is what should happen, but this could also happen. I got to go with the more durable guy here. I have to go with the more dependable guy. While Terrance is the more dangerous, the more exciting, the more explosive, I'm going to go Esteban Ribovics. Very low confidence in that. This fight should be 50-50, but I do think Esteban wins. If you're one of those people that, and this is a betting style, it's not mine, but I get it. If you're one of those people that likes to look at a fight, just look at a fight and you say, I think this person wins at, I'm 55% confident in this person, I'm whatever. And then you look at the odds, and the odds are better than that. Minus 155 is 60% confidence. Let's say you are 75% confident Esteban Ribovics wins. And then you get good underdog odds on Terrance McKinney, and you want to go that direction? Great. A lot of people do that. A lot of people will pick their side, look at the odds, and say, oh, actually, the value is on the other side here. The favorite's too expensive for how confident I am. There's money on the dog. Let me go dog. If you are that person, Terrance McKinney might be the way to go, but I think Terrance loses, and I don't bet on underdogs just because the odds are good. Also, I know that my math example was a weird one and didn't prove my point, but hopefully you get my point. Then we have Chase Hooper taking on Viacheslav Borshchev. I have already seen people in the Discord. Somebody said, guys, Chase Hooper's an underdog next week. Saying it like it was shocking. Like, guys, we better jump on this before the line goes crazy because Chase Hooper is an underdog. This guy here is Can you believe it? How is that possible? I'll tell you how it's possible. Chase Hooper's a jiu-jitsu nerd fighting a nasty striker. And obviously this is a much more complicated matchup than that. So let's go ahead and talk about it. But Chase Hooper is a bit of a jiu-jitsu nerd. He's a slick grappler. Unfortunately, his takedown offense is well below average at 22%. His striking it's improving. Let's say it's improving. Takedown accuracy, Mackenzie darn bad. He's got no get up whatsoever if he is taken down. He is a young prospect. He can have success, but he needs to be careful. The matchups matter for him. He's coming off that submission win over fellow jiu-jitsu nerd Jordan Levitt, where he snatched up a rear naked choke in a scramble. I will say, I was a little harsh on him there. His striking has been improving, and of course we know his jiu-jitsu is very good. He's taking on Viacheslav Borshchev. This guy's a fantastic striker. He's got a legitimate professional kickboxing career before he transitioned into MMA. He's got a great jab, solid power, fantastic kicks. Unfortunately for him, everybody knows that. It's not a secret what a dangerous, nasty striker he is, so everybody looks to take him down. He does have a very low 36% takedown defense, and he has been taking down a remarkable 28 times in 6 UFC fights. He's coming off that draw with Nazim Sadikov, where he did pretty well in the striking, and then he got dropped. And then he got almost finished, and then he got out-wrestled. But he banked enough to get that draw. That was a drag-him-out fight, and what we did get to see in that is Viacheslav can be a dog. We've seen him out-wrestle. We've seen him out-dog grapplers, which you can do. If you've got great cardio and you're getting run through the gym where they're just taking you down, holding you down, you have to work up, you can do that. This is the first time we've seen him in striking trouble and dog it out. If Chase Hooper had good takedowns, if Chase Hooper had Mateusz Rębecki takedowns, who we're going to break down in a few minutes here, he'd be a very good underdog here. He'd probably be the favorite, frankly. But he doesn't. He doesn't. So he can't be. Viacheslav should be able to defend the takedowns, dole out some punishment. Viaceslav's going to be the pick. But if it ends up on the ground, it's going to be interesting because Chase is definitely going to be the most dangerous grappler that Viacheslav Borshchev has ever fought. So this should be a fun fight. I am looking forward to it. And this is the featured prelim of the evening, which means the cadence of this video, I'm going to tell you about our $50 promo. Anybody on this planet, premium member or otherwise, can get $50. Just go to wewantpicks.com/bets. Use one of the links. Sign up, make a deposit. We send you $50 as a thank you. I emphasize use the links because inevitably we do about, 20 to 50 a month, depending on the month. Inevitably, people reach out. Hey, I signed up. Where's my $50? Here's my account number. And I look it up and it's not in there. It's not in the affiliate portal because you didn't use the link. So then I have to reach out to the affiliate company and say, hey, can you look up this user? And sometimes it's, these people signed up with somebody else's link. Can't help you there. Other times it's, okay, I see them. They didn't use the link. We'll move them over. Use the link. We send you $50 as a thank you. It's affiliate marketing, right? You're going to click the link. You're going to sign up. You're going to make your first deposit. Then they're going to pay me. And then I'm going to take some of that money and give it right back to you. That's what this is. You're helping us grow into the largest service we have on this internet right now. That's the goal. And I'm going to give you some money when I can. wewantpicks.com/bets. Use the link, make a deposit, send it $50 as a thank you. Also, the Fight Foods vlog. If you don't know, I film a vlog for every single pay-per-view. Every single pay-per-view, film a vlog. It records the day. We cook some good food. People come over, we drink, we watch the fights, we do all those things. We also open mail on the vlogs. We just had an incredible New Zealand company. What is it called? Twill Outdoors. Twill Outdoors sent us an incredible hammock. You can use it for hunting. It's about this big. It's light. It's durable. It's all the things. And they said, here, take this. We read the letter. We opened it up. And the reason I'm emphasizing this is I want to help out whoever we can help out. You want to send a letter, tell a story? We'll read it. You want to showcase your small business? We're happy to do it. We Want Picks. The address is right here, P.O. Box 406 in the, what I think, greatest town in this country, Prosper, Tejas. Then we have the main card opener. We have Waldo Cortes-Acosta taking on his most dangerous opponent ever in Robelis, Despaigne, who is taking on his most dangerous opponent ever. This is phenomenal matchmaking. Two heavyweight prospects with power. Two heavyweight prospects that could do something in this division meeting up. You could argue it's a little too early in their careers for this to happen, but Waldo Cortes-Acosta has had a couple of fights in the UFC already, and Robelis Despaigne is 35 years old. They don't necessarily have the time to slow roll him. This is going to be a fun fight. This is a spectacular main card opener. We got Waldo Cortes-Acosta, fun, athletic striker who is tough as nails and has some decent power. He does get flashy at times. We've talked about this. He'll literally salsa dance in the middle of the octagon. He lands an impressive 6 significant strikes per minute, and he has showed us on numerous occasions how insanely tough he is. He's been in fights where basically baseball bats were sledged against his legs, and he didn't even, not a limp, nothing. He is coming off that decision win over Andrei Arlovski, where I'm pretty sure he was convinced he was going to knock that man out, so he was headhunting, looking for that knockout. And obviously, he didn't find it. He landed fewer strikes, but the pressure, the impact of those strikes were the difference there. He's taking on Robelis Despaigne. If you didn't have the fortune of watching his last fight, let me remind you who this guy is. He's a beast. He is 6 feet 7 inches tall. He is an Olympic Taekwondo medalist. There's not a ton of footage of his MMA career because he only has 5 fights. His last 4 fights combined total to 37 seconds. I'm pausing for dramatic effect. This gentleman, this 6'7" Olympian, has had 4 MMA fights, one of which was in the UFC, with the cumulative total of 37 seconds. He has insane power in both his hands and his feet. If you watch his Taekwondo matches, you'll see the speed, the athleticism, the timing. He does get hit, though, but it's 37 seconds. How often? I mean, it's not 37 seconds. It's crazy what this guy has been able to do. The exciting part is he's just putting people out, and he's doing it insanely quickly. Quickie? Damn. I'm either perverted or can't speak straight because I was up so late filming that recap video. Either way, the issue, though, while it's exciting to watch, the issue, though, is we don't know what the hell this guy's going to look like if a fight gets tough. We don't know what the hell it's going to look like if he ends up taken down. We haven't seen enough. We literally have no idea what will happen if he gets taken down. What will happen if this fight is in the 3rd round? We don't know any of those. What happens if he's backing up? Does he have a good chin? We don't know. We have no clue. His fights are so fast. He's so dominant. We never get to see him be a nail at all. We do know that Waldo can take a beating. We do know that Waldo has not insane power, but he's capable of stopping somebody. We do know Waldo can defend takedowns. We don't know anything on the Robelis side. I'm still going to have to lean Robelis. At the end of the day, these are heavyweights. And one of these gentlemen is 6'7", an Olympian in a striking art. He's not a rowing Olympian, an Olympian in a striking art who hits like a bulldozer. I got to go Robelis. He's athletic. He's tremendous. He hits insanely hard. I got to go Robelis here. This is both of their toughest tests. I'm very excited for this fight. I think this is phenomenal matchmaking, and we're going to see what happens here. And the best part is, let's say Waldo loses. All right, look who he lost to. Let's say Robelis loses. Okay, all right, we rushed him a little bit. It's okay. It's only his 6th fight. So no matter who loses here, it's not a fraud check, in my opinion. It's not a fraud situation. It's okay, we get it. Makes sense. Now let's just address their careers accordingly. Either way, great matchup. I'm looking forward to it. I am going to pick Robelis because when you look at heavyweights, physically imposing is part of the equation, let alone light as a feather, sting like a bee. Then we have Bruce Leroy, Alex Caceres taking on Sean Woodson. This is, I'm trying not to say interesting because I say interesting too much. This fight will be, this is an intriguing fight because Alex Caceres, you can see the record 21-14. Those losses are some of the best people on the planet. And he started in the UFC insanely young. He basically learned on our time. He learned on his professional record time in the UFC at the highest level. But he's a tough guy to fight because he's very awkward. He's a well-rounded vet. He came through the Ultimate Fighter 13 years ago. 13 years ago, he came through the Ultimate Fighter. His striking is solid. His durability is solid. Wrestling and grappling are better than you would think they are. He's got a wealth of experience against very high-level opponents. He doesn't really have raw power, but he has volume, accuracy, nice scrambles. He's got an awkward style, and that could throw a lot of people off, but he is incredibly durable. He's coming off that decision loss to Giga Chikadze, where he showcased his chin and his toughness. He's taking on the E.T. body-esque. Go watch E.T. Go look up E.T. and tell me I'm wrong. Sean Woodson. Sean Woodson is insanely long. And the reason he's got that ET body is because he's at freaking featherweight and he's 6'2". This guy towers over Jacob. Jacob is 5'7". Sean Woodson is 6'2". He towers over Jacob. Sean Woodson is smaller than me and almost a foot taller than Jacob. And he is a featherweight, lighter than both of us. He's long, he's lean, and he's a very good boxer who had actual boxing experience and an actual boxing career before moving to mixed martial arts. I don't normally care about reach because typically MMA fighters don't use it very well, but Sean Woodson uses his reach very well. He manages distance really well. He's one of the few fighters that does utilize his reach and take advantage of people, not in a weird, hi, I'm Chris Hansen. Not that kind of take advantage. But he will exploit your inability to close the distance. Given how good his hands are, people are going to try to take him down, and that's not easy to do either. He's so freaking long. He spreads out his base, and you can't wrap your arms around the guy. He's got an 84% takedown defense. He's coming off that split decision win over Charles Jourdain in Canada, where he had the volume, and he even had an offensive takedown. I'm going Woodson. Woodson's the pick. Caceres is tough as hell. His style is weird as hell, but Woodson is such a clean boxer. Incredible takedown defense. I don't see him losing here. Likely a decision. Alex Caceres is durable and not powerful, so this is probably a decision. Sean Woodson probably wins. A lot of distance striking in this fight. This may not be an exciting fight because of that style, but I'm pretty confident in Shawnee Woods, baby. Then we have Diego Ferreira taking on Mateusz Rębecki. Rębecki is minus 270. I think he's the biggest favorite on this card. And that tells you what kind of card we have here. The favorites for UFC 301 were minus 700, minus 650, minus 500. The biggest favorite on this card is minus 270. And I could be wrong. I might be missing a fight, a little screwy. But I think I remember Mateusz Rębecki being the biggest favorite. And he's only minus 270. He's less than a 3-1. That is not going to stay like that. Mateusz Rębecki might be minus 400 come fight night. And I'm not being sarcastic or dramatic. People are going to look at the card. Money's going to come in. When we look at betting odds, the minute they're dropped, they take off in one direction or another, right? The sharps, the people who do this for a living, that literally have tools and like robotics, like algorithms and what the hell? I'm a nerd. Scripts. They have scripts that look for odds to drop and then just hammer bets, usually off of data, not even opinion, and just hammer bets. Or they have scripts that follow trends, and as soon as a trend is a certain way, they'll max bet, they'll hammer it. So when odds get dropped, there's instant line movement. Instant. Then it is pretty steady until the Sunday before fights. You're watching this video, if you hit it as soon as I make it public, on a Sunday before the fight. It's going to move today. It'll continue to move throughout the week. But the most dramatic movements are as soon as they drop, and then the Sunday before fights when everybody is moved on. The general public has moved on from the event the night before. They're ready to look at the next event, and that's when things start to happen. You're also going to get movement on Tuesdays for some reason is a big day, and then, of course, after the weigh-ins. Mateusz Rębecki's line is going to move. If you're watching this and you agree with everything I'm about to say, you should probably jump on it. And he doesn't have a cake matchup. He is taking on Diego Ferreira. This guy's got very good BJJ. He's got good power in his hands. And even though he is a grappler, he does have solid striking, a surprisingly low takedown accuracy, though, of only 22%. His striking has evolved over the years. He has won some striking-only fights as well. Takedown defense is decent at 63%. But what's even more impressive is when you dig in, he'll see that he has defended takedowns from some of the best. Beneil Dariush, Gregor Gillespie. If you don't know Gregor, that guy disappeared. I don't know what the hell's going on, Gregor Gillespie. But that guy was a phenomenal wrestler. As well as Mateusz Gamrot. He's coming off that devastating lights-out knockout win over Michael Johnson. Mateusz Rębecki, spoiler alert, I'm picking him. And that's because he's a relentless grappler. He marches forward. He'll throw giant 1-2s, and then he's just diving at legs. Even though he is a grappler, he will absolutely hang around for a striking match. Every single punch he throws is with intent. And when he gets you to the ground, he's looking for a finish. He can be reckless, and that does leave him open on the feet, which can be concerning with somebody with the power of Diego Ferreira. But he's got a solid chin, good cardio, and considering his pace, it's pretty impressive. He can be sloppy. I get it. He's coming off that first round submission win over Roosevelt Roberts. I got to go Mateusz Rębecki all day long. All day long. Very confident in him. I see him being durable enough if a big shot lands, as well as having his own power, takedown pressure. He is a finisher. I'm not worried about this going long if it does because he's got the cardio. Rębecki's the pick. Again, jump on it before the line takes off. If you have access to the line movement tracker, if you're a premium member, you can monitor that movement. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll go the other way. Maybe I'm wrong. I doubt it. If you're not a premium member, become one. It's only $10 for an entire month. You're going to get everything you could ever want or need heading in the fight week. Picks, bets, tools, insight, information. Like anything you could ever want. It's freaking $10 for an entire month. And it's a phenomenal way to support us. And you can do that at WeWantPicks.com. Just click Become a Member at the top. Then we have the featured fight of the evening. A couple of big boy strikers. I'm aware. I'm looking at the same graphic you are right now. I am aware that this says strawweight. But I'm positive everything else on this is correct. I do 3 graphics for every single fight. There are 13 fights on this card. 13 times 3 is 39. I do 39 graphics for this card. And there's every single one of these things is an element that I got to go in. So while doing this graphic, I have to adjust their flags, the odds, the names, the records. I forgot to adjust the weight class. These are obviously not straw weights. These are light heavyweights. Big ones that hit hard. We got Alonzo Menifield. This guy has nuts power. Typically great takedown defense. He's always looking to take your head off with each punch. His striking can be wild. It can be a little sloppy, but the power is undeniable. He has confidence because he got that 75% takedown defense, and that only makes him more dangerous because he doesn't worry about being taken down. He just moves forward and swings. When Alonzo is coming forward, when he is the aggressor, he is a very dangerous man. But you can't always trust on his decision-making, his oddly timed takedown attempts. He is coming off that upset win over Dustin Jacoby, where he was outstruck with the volume and just the raw technique, but he had the power, he had a knockdown, and he even had a takedown. He's taking on Carlos Ulberg. This gentleman is out of Izzy's fight camp. He's a tremendous, incredibly handsome man with a professional kickboxing background. He transitioned to MMA a little while ago, took a break, went back to kickboxing, and then came back. He's a very big guy. He's got incredible footwork, great range management. His striking differential is an impressive almost 8-3. That means he is landing almost 8 significant strikes and being hit with fewer than 4. And that is very impressive, especially at this weight class, especially considering all he wants to do is strike. His only MMA loss was a knockout loss to Kennedy Nzechukwu in a fight that he was absolutely dominating before he got caught in a weird, he was moving out of the way and got blasted. He is coming off that 3rd round submission win over Da Woon Jung. Carlos is by far the better striker in this matchup. Not even close, not even up for debate, at least from a technical standpoint. But so was Dustin Jacoby when he fought Alonzo Menifield. And Alonzo just seems to be finding his footing in this division after that loss to William Knight in 2021. He's got power. He's got cardio. That is a newish addition in the last couple of years. And he's got takedowns. I'm still going to lean Ulberg here because the takedown defense has been phenomenal, which means this is mostly a striking matchup, and he's the better striker. Unlike Dustin Jacoby, Carlos Ulberg has legitimate fight-ending power and very technical skills. I got to go Carlos Ulberg here for the matchup, but if Alonzo comes out well coached, which he might not because his coach is Rose Namajunas' boyfriend/husband, and they tend to make some very interesting decisions in fights. But if he comes out well coached, Alonzo Menifield could have a good night. But I imagine he's going to maybe even have a little bit of success striking and then shoot a takedown for no reason whatsoever because that's what he's done in the past. But Carlos Ulberg's going to be the pick. Then we have the co-main event of the evening. The fun part about this co-main event is that this was just added recently. It was added after Joaquin Buckley stood up at the UFC 300 press conference where they were taking questions from fans and people and media. And Joaquin Buckley got on the microphone and said, "Dana White, I want the main event slot for UFC St. Louis." And it was awkward as hell. Dana White didn't even respond, just pretended he didn't hear a thing. And while Joaquin Buckley didn't get his full wish, he is in a co-main event slot on that card. And this is a very good matchup as well. I've been very impressed with 2 matchups on this card. This fight, and then if we rewind and we talk about the Robelis Waldo fight. Those 2 fights are phenomenal matchmaking. And I forget who has what weight class, but congratulations or thank you, Mick Maynard and Sean Shelby. I forget who's got the big boys and who's got the little guys. Either way, great matchmaking. We got Joaquin Buckley. This guy's a fast, powerful striker, plenty of movement. Plenty of movement. And that is a key here. And we saw that in his last fight against Vicente Luque. He's moving left. He's moving right. He's leaping in. He's insanely fast. He has plenty of cardio, tons of power, the greatest knockout in the history of the sport. And he has done well working in takedowns as well. Plenty of cardio. And that's what's impressive because he was a 185-pounder that moved down to 170. Seems to have taken the power with him, but also the cardio. Lots of times people cut a little too much weight, their chin is gone. They cut a little too much weight, the cardio is gone. Doesn't seem to be the case for either one of those things so far. Joaquin Buckley, I believe, is 3-0 now at his new home of 170, with the most recent being a stoppage win over Vicente Luque, where I thought Joaquin looked absolutely spectacular. He's taking on another one of my, I don't want to say like favorite fighters because he's not, but another prospect that I am very high on in Nursultan Ruziboyev. He's been running through his UFC competition. I'm well aware that he just beat SD Dumas and there was an eye poke situation. I get it. So either way, he was looking real good leading up to that finish. But Nursultan Ruziboyev is not a striker. He's finishing people on his feet in the UFC, but he's not a striker. He's a nasty wrestler. He is a grappling beast who will get you to the ground any possible way that he can. He shoots doubles. He'll catch kicks. He'll literally, any opportunity he has, he'll look to get a fight to the ground. On the ground, he's very aggressive. He's always transitioning while looking for a finish. He's got fantastic BJJ. His control is not the best, but he's not just a crotch sniffer. He's not just a dive at legs wrestler. He's got power in his hands and no problem striking. This is a fun matchup. 2 very high-level guys at 170. Joaquin looked incredible in his last fight. And what's weird is, I mean, that's my opinion. You can disagree. What's weird is in my UFC Atlantic City recap, they just fought a month ago or less than a month ago. In that recap, was that a Southern accent? Recap. I said Joaquin Buckley looked fantastic. And people were like, no, he didn't. He looked terrible. I don't know if that's just when you have an audience as large as ours, and thank you, by the way, but we do 300,000+ views a month. That's a lot of people. Some love us, some hate us, some never seen it. That's a lot of people watching the content. So you're going to get differing opinions. There's 0% chance everybody agrees. You see the comments. There's people fighting with each other. I was watching UFC 301 last night in the media room with Jacob and a couple of buddies. And we're looking at the comments. And in the comments, somebody was like, Steve Erceg's a great underdog this week. And that was I don't think it was a lot of people thought that was a very close fight. Some people even think Steve Erceg won. And instantly when that fight was over, somebody's like, this aged like milk. So you're fighting with each other too. And where I'm going with this rant is after Joaquin Buckley's last fight, in my recap video immediately after the event, I was like, I think Joaquin Buckley looked spectacular. He was composed. He was calm. The takedown defense, the pressure, the striking, the movement. That movement, big dramatic movements were new. We haven't seen that if people are like, he looked awful. What are you talking about? So we're going to agree to disagree. I thought he looked spectacular in his last fight. I am still going to pick Nursultan Ruziboyev here. And that's because Nursultan Ruziboyev, I think, can be the real deal. We have seen the power in his hands. He's a much larger person. He's a much bigger guy in this matchup. Nursultan Ruziboyev is a capable striker. We know he's a very good wrestler. I'm going to lean Nursultan here. Very low confidence in that. And the reason the confidence is low is because he just beat 2 people striking. And how many times have we seen very good grapplers have some success striking and then just abandon the grappling? The grappling is what got him to the UFC, not the striking. The striking is what we've seen in the UFC, but the grappling is what got him there. My one real concern is that Nursultan Ruziboyev is going to abandon the grappling and go heavy on the striking because he's had that success, and that's a bad idea. Joaquin Buckley's faster, hits harder, is the much better striker. This is a great matchup. I love Joaquin Buckley. I'll be happy either way. Then we have the main event of the evening, the all-time knockout king, Derrick Lewis. In the history of the UFC, nobody has gotten more knockouts than Derrick Lewis. And he is taking on 11-1, Rodrigo Nascimento. And Derrick Lewis is the favorite. I was surprised to see that. Derek Lewis is 1-4 in his last 5. And when Derek Lewis can't get the knockout, that's basically it. Outside of the most odd decision win over Francis Ngannou years ago, Derek Lewis is not winning decisions. I have no idea why he is a favorite right now. At best, this should be a 50-50 pick'em. At best. He is the knockout king. He can take anybody's head off his body. And he can be durable, especially in a fight like this. So I'll tell you a bet that might make some sense. But either way, we got the knockout king, the always exciting, the man I'll be rooting for to win, Derek Lewis. Literally more knockouts than anybody in the history of the UFC. But as we know, that's all he really has. He's the most exciting guy when he gets his hands going. He's literally the most exciting and the most single-threaded guy in this division. He's got incredible power, but very low output. He can be taken down, but it literally just stand right back up. He's a powerhouse. He is literally never out of a fight. We have seen him losing boring fights, getting beat up a little bit, getting taken down a little bit, then boom, land that big punch and get it done. He's coming off the 5-round decision loss to Jailton Almeida, where he was taken down 6 times and he gave up 21 minutes of control time. In his defense, he stepped up on short notice. He stepped up on short notice and took that main event. That was not supposed to be his, but he stepped up and he did it, and he got out-grappled by a phenomenal wrestler. That's not very shocking. He's taking on Rodrigo Nascimento. Rodrigo Nascimento is a grappler. Is he as good as Jailton Almeida? No. But he is a grappler with solid submissions who occasionally gets sucked into striking matches. His path to victory is usually grappling, and he'll initiate that by marching forward, throwing punches, and working a clinch. He averages a little more than 1 takedown per fight. He's got a solid 77% takedown defense, and he's coming off that very close decision win over Dontel Mays, where he went 0 for 3 in takedown attempts. That last sentence might be why he's the dog. You barely beat Dontel Mays. That might be why he's the underdog here. Right now, Derek Lewis is a -160 favorite, I believe. And if it stays that way, this will be the first time in 2 years that Derek Lewis closed as a favorite. He has not closed as a favorite in 2 years. If he manages to win as that favorite, it will be the first time in 4 years that he has won a fight as the favorite. I love Derek Lewis. I want him to get hit so many knockouts that it's impossible for anybody to even attempt to break that record. I want Derek Lewis to knock people out until he's 45 years old, and then it's just like the all-time record. He's insanely funny on the mic. He seems like a very nice, personable, friendly guy. Derek Lewis is awesome in every way you would like him to be awesome. He goes out there and he fights. He can be boring, but he's got so much power. It is tense. You're just waiting like, whoa, whoa. I'm rooting for Derek Lewis. I'm rooting for him. But I just think that Rodrigo Nascimento is going to win an insanely boring fight. This is going to be a boring main event. I think, in my mind, Rodrigo Nascimento is just going to close the distance, hold Derek Lewis against the cage, maybe take him down. Derek Lewis will pop right back up and just rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. Rodrigo does have to fight a perfect 25 minutes. This is a main event. He does have to fight a perfect fight, because you give Derek Lewis a sliver of room, he'll hit you in the head and you're done. A sliver. And he's never out. He's not a guy that only has power in the first 2 minutes. He's got power throughout. But I think Nascimento is obviously going to grapple heavy. He's obviously going to come forward. If Nascimento had more power in his hands, I'd be far more confident in him. He does have an upside-down striking differential, which is concerning. But I think Rodrigo Nascimento is a very good underdog on this card. Let me know what you think. I'm curious if I'm the only one that saw that he was a dog and was like, what? Or if that's like, no, he's a dog because Derek Lewis hits like a train. Rodrigo couldn't get his wrestling going against Dontel Mays, and Rodrigo doesn't have the power. So eventually, Derek Lewis is just going to stand up, defend a takedown, or crack him in the face. Eventually, that's going to happen. If that's your logic, let me know. I am very curious. I was surprised to see Rodrigo as a underdog in this fight. Guys, that is the breakdown. And we do ask that you become a premium member. But premium membership is not only a phenomenal way to support myself, Jacob, and the crew behind the scenes that you don't get to see, but it is also insanely valuable. It is the most value you're going to get in this space. Just go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. You will instantly unlock tools, insight, all the picks, the bets, and everything else. Soon as you log in, you have access to every single pick and bet that I put on the board, as well as my confidence levels and my round line leads. Same thing with Artem. Same thing with Jacob. Same thing with Running Mouth. There's 3 of them doing that. You're going to have access to the safety parlay. You're going to have access to the tools. One of those tools is the line movement tracker. It's going to give you the opening odds, the current odds, the win probability, and the line movement for every fighter on every card. And that is important information to have because you don't want to be the doofus that bet on somebody at minus 180 only to find out that they're plus 110 a week later. You're also going to get the detailed data, metrics, and analytics. 38 columns of information, neatly organized, sortable, that you can interact with to very quickly see, oh, Derek Lewis's takedown defense is X%. Rodrigo Nascimento averages this many takedowns per fight, and he's doing it at this percent. Well, that could be helpful when you're going to Prize Picks or Underdog, or if your sportsbook has takedown lines. You're also going to get the best DraftKings ownership projections in the game. If you play DraftKings Fantasy, you know how insanely important this is, and you know how absolutely astonishing it is that our projections, just small little mom and pop shop, I'm the pop, Jacob's the mom, small little mom and pop shop is dominating the Skotastics, the Awesomos, the Roto Grinders of the world. We are putting up better numbers than them week in and week out, and they're charging $100 a sport for that information. And this will be preloaded in the DraftKings Optimizer that will build lineups for you. There's a theme here, and I can continue to move on. It is the greatest value in this space. We even have an artificial intelligence picking fights based off of data. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. It's $10 a month. I want to thank the well over 3,000 people that have signed up and are active members right now. I want to thank every single one of you. Maybe you don't have the $10, and that's fine, for liking, for subscribing, for doing all those things. We crossed the 24,000 viewer line last week. We're closing in on 25,000, and your support means more to us than you will ever know. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. Thank you so much, even if you're not.